There is a quiet, unspoken exhaustion that often accompanies our golden years. After decades of raising families, building careers, and carrying the weight of others' expectations, many seniors reach their later chapters feeling completely drained. In Buddhism, we speak beautifully of dana, the profound practice of generosity. But there is a crucial difference between giving from a place of abundance and giving from a place of obligation. The Buddha taught that generosity without panna, or wisdom, is simply self-depletion disguised as virtue. We often believe that to love someone means we must surrender every piece of ourselves to them. But true spiritual maturity requires boundaries. Here are 5 things you must fiercely protect and never give away, no matter who is asking. The first thing, your emotional sanctuary. The first and perhaps most vital thing you must never give away is your emotional sanctuary. In Buddhist philosophy, there is a beautiful and often misunderstood concept known as upekkha, or equanimity. Many people mistake equanimity for coldness, apathy, or a lack of care. But true equanimity is exactly the opposite. It is a state of profound internal balance. It is the ability to stand firmly in the center of your own being while the world swirls around you. Yet, as we grow older, we often confuse loving our family with absorbing their emotional chaos. Think about the dynamics in your own life. How often do you act as the emotional sponge for your adult children, your grandchildren, or even your lifelong friends? The phone rings late at night, and on the other end is a loved one in distress. They pour out their anger about a failing relationship, their anxiety over financial struggles, or their bitterness about an unfair situation at work. Because you love them deeply, you listen. But somewhere along the line, you do not just listen. You take their heavy, dark energy and pull it right into your own chest. You hang up the phone, but the storm continues to rage inside your mind. You lose sleep, your heart races. You spend your days chewing on their problems, trying to digest a meal you never actually ate. This is the ultimate betrayal of your emotional sanctuary. When you surrender your internal peace to match someone else's panic, you are not actually helping them. You are simply adding another drowning person to the ocean. Consider the metaphor of a ship caught in a violent storm. The waves are crashing, the wind is howling, and the vessel is being tossed relentlessly. If you are the anchor of that ship, your job is not to ride the waves and thrash around in the water to show the ship how much you care. Your job is to sink deep into the quiet, still ocean floor and hold firm. If the anchor loses its grip and gets swept up in the current, the entire ship is lost. You must be the anchor. You cannot offer stability to a fragile loved one if you have given away your own solid ground. Many seniors feel a profound sense of guilt when they establish an emotional boundary. Society tells us that parents and grandparents must have endlessly bleeding hearts. If you are not worrying yourself sick over your children, you might fear you are a bad parent. But the Buddha's teachings invite us to elevate our understanding of compassion. True compassion does not require you to suffer simply because someone you love is suffering. The next time someone comes to you looking to unload their emotional burden, you must practice a new kind of presence. You can look at them with soft eyes, offer a warm embrace, and say gentle words of encouragement. You can hold space for their pain without making it your permanent roommate. Imagine a glass wall between their chaos and your peace. You can see their struggle clearly, you can send them boundless love, but you do not let their turbulent waters flood your quiet room. By maintaining your emotional sanctuary, you preserve your energy. More importantly, you become a beacon of calm. When your loved ones realize they cannot drag you into their storm, They will eventually learn to drop their anchor and find stillness beside you. The second thing, the dignity of their own struggle. The second thing you must absolutely refuse to give away is your willingness to carry the consequences of someone else's choices. In the profound teachings of Buddhism, there is a universal law that governs our existence. We call it karma. While modern society often reduces karma to a cosmic punishment system, its true meaning is deeply practical and empowering. Karma simply means action and the undeniable result of that action. The Buddha taught that we are the owners of our actions and the heirs to our actions. No one can walk the path of awakening for you, and similarly, you cannot walk the path of life for anyone else, not even for your own flesh and blood. As a parent or a grandparent, your instinct to protect is woven into your very spirit. When you see your adult children or grandchildren making poor decisions, the urge to swoop in and save them is almost impossible to resist. Perhaps your son makes reckless financial choices and comes to you for a bailout for the third or fourth time, draining the savings you worked decades to build. Perhaps your daughter is trapped in a cycle of toxic relationships, and you spend your days trying to fix her life, mediating her conflicts, and cleaning up her emotional messes. You write the checks, you make the phone calls, and you intervene because your love compels you to eliminate their pain. But here is the harsh, illuminating truth you must sit with today. When you continually rescue someone from the natural consequences of their own behavior, you are not actually saving them. You are stealing the dignity of their own struggle. You are robbing them of the very friction they need to evolve. Think of the well-known story of a caterpillar transitioning into a butterfly. The struggle to push through the tight opening of the chrysalis is not a cruel joke of nature. That intense, agonizing friction is exactly what forces fluid from the insect's body into its wings, making them strong enough to take flight. If a well-meaning person comes along and slices the chrysalis open to save the butterfly from struggling, the butterfly will indeed emerge easily, but its wings will remain shriveled and weak. It will never fly. It will spend its brief life crawling on the ground, permanently handicapped by an act of misplaced compassion. In modern psychology, this is known as enabling, a behavior we frequently confuse with empowering. When you carry the heavy burdens that rightfully belong to your adult children, you are silently broadcasting a devastating message to them. You are communicating that they are too weak, too incompetent, and too fragile to navigate their own lives. You are cutting their chrysalis open and ensuring they never develop the wingspan required to survive in this complex, unpredictable world. Reclaiming this boundary requires immense spiritual courage. It means watching someone you love face hardship and choosing to stand beside them instead of stepping in front of them. It means looking at your adult child and saying with deep, unwavering love that you believe in their ability to figure this out on their own. You can offer guidance if they seek it. You can offer a listening ear. You can offer your absolute belief in their strength. But you must never hand over your hard-earned resources or your life energy to pay the toll for a road they consciously chose to walk. Let them face the consequences of their actions. Let them discover their own hidden resilience. By firmly refusing to carry their burden, you give them the greatest gift of all. You allow them to finally realize their own power. The third thing, your authentic voice and honest truth. The third thing you must never surrender is your authentic voice and your truth. In the Noble Eightfold Path, the Buddha taught the profound principle of samavaka, known as right speech. For speech to be considered right, it must pass a rigorous test. It must be spoken at the right time. It must be spoken with a mind of loving kindness. It must be beneficial, and above all, it must be completely true. Yet, as we enter our senior years, a strange and subtle phenomenon often occurs. We fall into the trap of false gentleness. We trade our profound, hard-earned truth for temporary comfort, becoming chronic people-pleasers in our own homes. Think about the family gatherings or quiet afternoon conversations in your living room. Your adult child comes to you complaining about a bitter conflict at their workplace or a recurring fight with their spouse. As you listen, your decades of life experience clearly show you that your child is entirely in the wrong. You can see their unchecked ego, their stubbornness, or their distinct lack of accountability. But instead of offering your genuine perspective, you swallow your words. You nod sympathetically. You offer a soft lie, telling them exactly what they want to hear just to keep the peace. You tell yourself that you are being supportive. You convince yourself that speaking up will only cause an argument, and at this stage in your life, you simply do not have the energy for conflict. But we must look at this dynamic with unblinking honesty. When you choose to offer false validation, you are not actually protecting your loved one. You are protecting yourself from the discomfort of an awkward conversation. Truth without kindness can certainly be a weapon that wounds, but kindness without truth is a prison. By refusing to speak honestly, you are quietly endorsing behavior that will eventually bring them more suffering. You become an unwitting accomplice to their illusions. To love someone deeply does not mean agreeing with everything they do. Real compassion, grounded in the Buddhist practice of metta, or loving kindness, sometimes requires us to be the clear mirror that others are intensely afraid to look into. You have walked this earth for 60, 70, or 80 years. Your eyes have witnessed the endless cyclical nature of human folly, heartbreak, and redemption. Your perspective is not just an arbitrary opinion, it is a highly refined instrument, tuned by decades of survival, quiet observation, and spiritual growth. To silence that instrument simply to avoid a fleeting moment of friction is a tragic waste of elder wisdom. You absolutely do not need to be harsh, loud, or judgmental. Right speech is always wrapped in an undeniable gentleness. The next time you are asked for your thoughts, and you feel that familiar, heavy urge to offer a comforting lie, take a slow, grounding breath. Speak your truth with a soft voice, but an unbending spine. You can tell them that you love them immensely, but you see the situation very differently. You can gently point out their blind spots with absolute grace. They might get defensive. They might walk away frustrated or angry, but you must release the desperate need to control their reaction. Your spiritual responsibility is not to manage their temporary emotions. Your responsibility is to offer the pure, unvarnished truth. Often, long after the initial sting of your honesty fades, your truthful words will act as a guiding light when they finally decide to find their way out of the dark. Dear friends, if this message resonates with your heart today, I gently invite you to join our growing family here at Buddha Coha. By subscribing to the channel and leaving a simple like, you help us share these ancient teachings with others who might be searching for peace and guidance in their own lives. We would also love to hear your wisdom. If you have a personal story about learning to set boundaries with your loved ones, please share it in the comments below. We read every single one. Now, let us explore the fourth vital thing you must protect. The fourth thing: unsolicited counsel and precious wisdom. The fourth thing you must absolutely refuse to give away is your unsolicited counsel and your deeply precious, hard-earned wisdom. This might sound slightly counterintuitive at first. As an elder, is it not your duty to guide the younger generations? Is it not your responsibility to warn them about the treacherous pitfalls you have already stumbled into? The answer requires a profound shift in perspective. In Buddhist tradition, there is a deep, abiding respect for the readiness of the student. The Buddha himself did not wander the ancient roads, forcing his enlightenment upon every passing stranger. He waited, he observed closely. He only offered his profound teachings when approached with genuine humility and a sincere request for guidance. He understood a fundamental truth about human nature. Wisdom cannot be forcefully implanted into another person. It can only be received by a truly open mind. Look at your own family dynamics and daily interactions. How many times have you watched a younger relative heading straight toward a painful, obvious mistake? Because you love them, you immediately intervene. You sit them down and generously pour out the life lessons that took you 50, 60, or 70 years of heartbreak, failure, and resilience to acquire. You explain exactly what they should do and what they must avoid. They nod, they politely thank you, and then they walk straight out the door and do exactly what they were going to do anyway. Months later, when your exact predictions come true, they return to you shattered, often completely forgetting that you had explicitly warned them. You are left feeling drained, unheard, and deeply undervalued. This cycle continues because you are treating your wisdom like cheap tap water, leaving the faucet running for anyone who happens to walk by. But your life experience is not tap water. Your wisdom is an extraordinarily rare, perfectly aged vintage wine. It was meticulously cultivated through decades of survival and distilled through the intense fires of your own suffering. You must never pour a rare vintage wine into a cup that is already completely full of youthful ego. And you certainly must never pour it over a cup that is turned upside down by arrogance or defiance. If you do, your precious offering simply spills onto the floor, entirely wasted and unappreciated. There is a powerful, quiet dignity in learning to withhold your counsel. We often speak out of a desperate subconscious desire to control outcomes and shield our loved ones from the sting of reality. But true spiritual maturity involves accepting that pain is often the only teacher they will ever truly listen to. People rarely evolve by being told how to live. They evolve from the raw, undeniable impact of their own mistakes. Your relentless advice, no matter how brilliantly accurate, often just becomes annoying background noise to them. The spiritual practice here is the mastery of sacred silence. You must learn to sit quietly and comfortably with your profound knowledge. Wait for the invitation. Wait patiently until the younger person has been humbled enough by life to come to you, look you directly in the eyes, and sincerely ask for your perspective. When that moment finally arrives, their cup will be empty and turned upright. Only then should you gently pour out your wisdom. By holding your counsel until they are genuinely ready, you preserve your own vital energy, and you ensure that when you finally do speak, your words carry the monumental weight they truly deserve. The fifth thing, your sacred time and vitality. The fifth and final thing you must absolutely refuse to give away is your sacred time and your remaining vitality. In the Buddhist tradition, there is a core teaching called anicca, or impermanence. The Buddha urged his followers to meditate constantly on the fleeting nature of existence, not to invoke fear or sadness, but to awaken a fierce, brilliant appreciation for the present moment. He taught that a human birth is unimaginably rare and precious. It is a profound privilege to possess a mind capable of deep reflection, a heart capable of boundless love, and a spirit capable of ultimate awakening. Yet, as we enter the winter of our lives, a heartbreaking pattern often emerges. We take the most precious, strictly limited resource we have left, our remaining time, and we hand it out freely to anyone who demands it. Society has conditioned us to believe that elders must remain endlessly useful to be truly valued. You might feel an overwhelming silent pressure to act as the perpetual babysitter for your grandchildren, the unpaid therapist for your adult children, or the full-time caretaker for demanding relatives. When you try to set a boundary and claim a weekend or even just a quiet afternoon for yourself, the guilt immediately rushes in. You worry that choosing your own peace is an act of supreme selfishness. You hear the word "no" forming in your throat, but out of a deep-seated fear of disappointing your family, you swallow it and say yes instead. You must look at your life with radical honesty today. Your physical and emotional energy at 60, 70, or 80 years old is not an endless, renewable spring. It is a highly sacred, rapidly diminishing flame. Every time you say yes out of mere obligation, you are extinguishing a piece of that flame. You are actively choosing to surrender the quiet mornings you could spend in peaceful meditation, the afternoons you could spend walking in nature, or the evenings you could spend simply breathing and enjoying the beautiful stillness you worked your entire life to earn. To be clear, this does not mean you abandon your family or stop contributing to their lives. If spending an afternoon with your grandchildren brings you pure, unadulterated joy, and you have the physical vitality to do it without feeling drained, then you should give that time freely. But there is a massive spiritual difference between a joyful choice and a heavy, resentful obligation. When you give your time away because you feel trapped by guilt, your family receives your physical presence, but they also absorb your hidden exhaustion and quiet resentment. No one truly benefits from this dynamic. Choosing to protect your time is not an act of selfishness. It is the ultimate act of self-stewardship. You have already paid your dues. You spent your youth and your middle years building, providing, and sacrificing heavily for others. These final chapters are meant for your own spiritual harvest. They are meant for you to discover who you are when you are no longer defined by what you can do for other people. The practice I gently invite you to begin is a daily morning reflection. Before the house wakes up, before the phone rings, and before the daily demands begin to pull at your attention, sit in complete silence for 5 minutes. Ask yourself a simple but revolutionary question. Where am I going to invest my remaining flame today? Is this commitment truly mine to make, or am I simply acting out of old, exhausted habits of people-pleasing? Protect your time fiercely. You owe it to the universe, and you owe it to yourself, to live these precious final years with pure intention, boundless joy, and uncompromising peace. As we bring these reflections to a close, I want to leave you with a timeless image from the ancient teachings. Imagine a massive ancient tree standing tall in the center of a wide, sun-baked plain. Over the decades, its branches have grown wide and thick, offering a magnificent canopy of shade. Weary travelers come to rest against its solid trunk. Children play safely beneath its leaves. Birds build their nests high in their sheltering arms. The tree gives its comfort freely, abundantly, and without hesitation. But we must ask ourselves a vital question. How is this great tree able to provide such endless shelter to others? It is not by stretching its branches so far that they snap in the wind. It is not by uprooting itself to follow the travelers down the road. The tree can only offer shade because its roots plunge deep into the dark, quiet earth, fiercely seeking and protecting its own source of water. If the roots decide to stop nourishing the trunk and instead try to water the grass around it, the tree will wither, the leaves will fall, and the beautiful shade will disappear forever. You are that great tree. For decades you have provided shelter, comfort and shade for your family, your friends, and your community. You have given so much of your life force to ensure others could rest securely beneath your branches. But if you have been quietly giving away your roots by surrendering your emotional sanctuary, your truth, your precious wisdom, your boundaries, and your sacred time, you must stop. If you recognize yourself in these words today, please do not carry a single ounce of guilt. Forgive yourself for the times you gave away pieces of your soul that were never meant to be given. Today is a new dawn. It is not too late to reclaim your vital energy. When you finally learn to protect your roots, you are not closing your heart. You are simply learning to give from a place of profound wisdom and unshakable strength, rather than from exhaustion and fear. And that is the true beginning of boundless generosity. May you be well, may you be peaceful, and may you fiercely protect the beautiful light that remains within you.